everyone. This is Connie King, founder of the Black America Research Directory, and we are excited to be here again with Tatayna Sapp and the Sapp team, as well so as Ray and Alexis. Thank you again for following up and coming back and talking to us. I know our audience is going to be so excited to hear about some of the things that you guys have been discussing, and I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Tatayna Sapp with the Sapp team, and she'll go ahead and get started. And we hope that our audience would get something out of today's interview. If you are looking to purchase a home, if you're a first-time home buyer, then I suggest that you stick around, listen, follow up, ask questions, submit your comments. And with that being said, Tatayna Sapp with the Sapp team, thank you very much.
Thank you, Connie. Hello, Rajan and Alexis. It's good to see you guys again.
Nice to see you as well.
Yes. So an overview for those who are watching, Rajan and I had come on and did a series with Bard where we answered some questions as well. And now we're doing a little bit of a follow-up. Since that point, I actually met with Rajan and Alexis. I took a full application for them to see if they can be pre-approved. There were some things to work on, but we were able to point them in the right direction and help them get prepared so that they can make home ownership possible when they're ready. So, I guess we can start with my question to you. How would you say your experience was when you went through the pre-approval process?
I think it was somewhat smooth. I think that now that I have her, it's a lot easier to kind of go through that process again. But I definitely, since last time, been working on improving my credit. That was the biggest thing. So my credit has been improving. Now that I have her, we're kind of just focusing on how do we get out of this apartment into, a home.
Yes.
And I think it was a really easy process. You made it really easy to understand. And I think it's overwhelming sometimes thinking about taking the step out of, we're paying a big amount to our rent, but it's, still a big step to save for a down payment and really get all our ducks in a row to be able to be in a place where we're able to become homeowners. So I think it just made the process a little bit less overwhelming.
Yes, good. My intentions when we have those initial consultations is for you guys to feel prepared, feel like you have some tools in your tool belt to take with you, because I'm not with you in everyday life. I can't monitor your credit every day or anything. So I want to make sure that you guys have tools to take with you so that as you're preparing for this goal, when life happens, you don't feel like, man, that one setback means I'm not going to be able to buy a house. No, it just means there's a little bit more work that you get to do in order to make it possible. So let's go over some of the questions that you guys had during the application, just for those who are watching, so you guys can get some of that good information as well.
Okay. Our first question was, how far should we plan ahead to buy a home and get our affairs in order to where it's not like overwhelming, to where, because I know to get everything together is overwhelming. Like, how should we break it up and how far should we plan ahead before wanting to get into a home?
That's a good question. There's no wrong answer to this question. I've had clients where they got prepared to buy a home 3 months before they ended up buying. And I've had people prepare 2 years in advance. So it's never too early is the best answer for you guys. So if the plan is to buy a home at the end of your lease, it's always best to start now versus waiting until you're a month away from your lease coming due and then deciding, let me now prepare to buy a house. Yeah. When it comes to saving money, it is a really good idea to plan for 1 year to 2 years ahead of time so that you're really setting aside money, not just for down payment closing costs, but also for moving expenses and new furniture if you guys want to buy some, and all the different little things that end up coming with home ownership. So you're prepared for those things, repairs on the home, for example. So I would say money-wise, start 1 to 2 years if you can. When it comes to credit and, just making sure income is showing the way it needs to, make sure during tax time before you purchase a home, you schedule a consultation so that we're taking a look at your finances and making sure that everything is in order for when you do decide to buy.
Got it. And then will any jobs like affect us being able to buy a home? Like any sort of like, is there anything that can go in?
Changes?
Yeah, any job
Yes,
changes?
yes. And I'm glad you asked this question because I actually have a client right now who's getting prepared to buy, and she's planning on changing jobs. So normally in the application, we need a 2-year history of employment. If you are changing jobs and it's in the same line of work, it tends to not be a problem at all, especially if you're getting a pay increase. Do not deny a pay increase because you're worried you won't be able to buy a house. Yeah. Pay increases are good. Yeah. Take the good opportunity. But yeah, normally if we can document the offer letter for the job change that you're going to, and we can document at least the first pay stub, you're able to even change as you get pre-approved out shopping for a home.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome.
I will ask one question. In terms of the industry that a person is in, are there certain industries that the government or different programs give you perks? Say, for instance, if you're in law enforcement, or if you're a teacher, or if you're a federal worker, or those sometimes first-time home buyer programs that are specific to that particular industry?
There can be. It normally depends on the program. There are some that do offer some additional incentives as far as being a government employee or being a school teacher. My best advice when it comes to assistance programs is make sure that you check when it's closer to your time as far as being pre-approved and buying a home, because the market changes and sometimes those programs can run out of the funds that are available. So I say, always prepare for the worst case, save money, because I would hate for you guys to say, I'm going to use this program, and then it comes time and I say, hey, the program isn't going to get you the price range you want, or there's no more funds available. I'd rather you guys have the money available. And if you end up getting into a home using a program and being able to take advantage of those incentives, that's always a good thing as well. But there are programs, yes, that do offer first-time buyer assistance. And sometimes you don't even have to be a first-time buyer to use those down payment assistance programs.
Okay, good to know.
I have another question. I was thinking, like, how do you think about this? Like, if you were able in the position to downgrade your life for about a year just to move ahead and to save enough money to get ahead and to purchase a home, do you think that's a good amount of time to just like buckle down, downgrade, move into somewhere where you're not paying such a high rent, move in with someone or move with your parents, or if you have like an opportunity to like pay like such a small amount for rent, do you think a year time will be enough? Because I know people that do that, but then they get stuck because they're like, okay, it's no more, I need more time, more time. And then they lose the motivation because it's like, this is where they were.
It's comfortable.
Now it's comfortable now. And it's just like, now they're moving backwards because they took that. Because I know people are like, oh, they're afraid. They're like, oh, we're comfortable. We're living life. We're doing good. But we're in that same position where we're paying a lot of money, especially in California. And for us to like kind of veer off and kind of like, establish a basis to where we are saving money and to downgrade our life for a lifestyle, like how much discipline should that require? And do you think within a year, do you think that will be able to, for anybody to reach their goal in California?
Oh man, that is a good question. That is a really good question. And if I remember right, when we had our initial consultation, I told you guys, as far as credit, don't go crazy buying anything new. Don't go buy the new luxury car. Don't go buying extra furniture. Keep your debts as low as possible to help with that debt to income ratio when it does come time to buy. When it comes to downgrading, it is more so important that you guys have a good savings plan and a good budgeting plan. Mm-hmm. There are people where they make enough money where they can have the current California rent, which is crazy. They can do that, and they can save, and they can make it all happen. And for some people, you do have to downsize for a little bit to achieve that goal, so that you're saving enough money and you're not paying most of it out for your rent. The best advice is definitely have a set budget, have a set savings plan. Don't use that extra money that you're saving and now say, okay, now let me go plan this trip.
Like, let's do
now
more
let me go
trips
buy this
now.
new thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And remind yourself of the goal. Remind yourself that you took this sacrifice for the ultimate goal of homeownership, and be diligent on that. Yes, it is possible, but it really comes with the self-discipline of simply making sure that you save the money and you don't spend it on something else. That's honestly, for our generation, that's what a lot of us do need to do in order to make homeownership a possibility. Because some people, they're paying a mortgage payment right now. Some people, they're paying less than a mortgage payment, but they're simply not budgeting in a way to where they can afford a mortgage payment when it's time.
Exactly.
So I say it's always a good idea to explore, make sure that you're, living comfortable in a sense, but if it's spending a little bit less money so you can ultimately save and have your own space, as long as you don't get comfortable where you're at and say this is fine, because it's not.
Or lose sight of that goal, as you said. Yeah, that goal is powerful, because then you just get comfortable. You're like, oh, look at all this money now. Let's just do the things we never really did.
Yeah, and I will say I know people who've chosen the other way. They saved money for buying a house, and then they said, you know what, instead of buying a house, I want to go travel, and that's nice. But if your goal is to have ownership of your home, take advantage of the home buying tax advantages that you can take advantage of. If your goal is to be able to do as you wish with your home and eventually build generational wealth and own multiple properties, then saving to buy that house and making that investment is worth it.
Definitely. And as far as like credit advice for preparing to buy a home. So, we know the saving side of things, we have to be really strict on our budgeting, which I know can be tricky, but, maybe using different tools can help us to really like set a budget out. But do you have any advice, just like credit wise, what we can be doing to improve our odds at getting pre-approved?
Yes. So credit is so tricky because I know we've talked about it as well, but you see one score on Credit Karma or Credit Sesame or any credit site, and then you go get your credit ran and you end up seeing a completely different score. And sometimes it confuses people because they're judging their credit bureau off of the score. So my first set of advice is to look at the content of your credit bureau. Don't judge your credit bureau just off of the score that you're seeing. And when it comes to looking at the credit bureau, make sure everything is up to date. If you see new negative accounts, like a new collection account or a late payment or a medical collection, call me. Just call me and say, hey, this thing just showed up. What should I do with it? And we'll walk through from there, what is the account, and give advice based off of that. The other thing, the easiest thing is to make your focus on paying down your debts versus charging up your cards. I know we just got through the holidays. I, as well as everyone else.
Yeah.
I did too. I have it. And so even myself personally, my goal is to pay down my credit card debts as well. So keeping the cards, we tell people between 20 to 30% of the limit. 20% tends to be the sweet spot right now. So if you can pay down the cards, do save on interest. If you pay off your credit cards, we always say keep a small running balance, use it for gas, use it for groceries, pay it off at the end of each month so you're saving on the interest. But that's the first thing. Okay. Pay down balances if they're charged up. Don't make any luxury purchases before you buy the house. Don't buy the luxury car. I know you're excited for furniture. Don't go crazy, at the furniture store. Save those purchases for after you've owned the home, after you've made that big purchase. I've had clients where they had to get a car and, right before they bought a house. And the best advice I told them was try to avoid a high lease payment. If you can buy a used car for right now, remember it's temporary. Your goal is to buy the house, and you can trade in
I'm
the
working
car
on
and you can
that.
get the one that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and don't go crazy with buying a new credit, especially once you start seeing your scores have been improving. Don't decide now I want to go do everything else other than buy a house.
Yeah.
Stay in that safety zone.
Yes, yes. And the main reason is because that can affect your debt to income ratio. So it can affect how much home you can actually afford.
Yeah.
I've also had clients where they bought the luxury car and they couldn't understand why they all of a sudden couldn't afford the house that they wanted in the price range. And, you know, it's a tricky thing. And what I would say for people, if you need to buy a car before you buy the house, have a consultation. It doesn't hurt to allow for a mortgage professional to take a look at how that will affect your ability to buy in the future. And if it turns out that you can get the car and get the house, we'll let you know. We won't have you wasting money if you don't need to.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think to know that we can kind of have these follow-ups as we take the steps. You know, we met personally and we talked about things that, you know, we're working on. And I think as we get those things on the checklist checked off, it's nice to know that, you know, we can rely back and we're not doing it on our own, in a sense, because I think that is, for a lot of people our age, it's extremely overwhelming seeing the market in California, seeing how it's really not a buyer's market at many times, you know, so it can get overwhelming that there's so many steps on our list. And then there's so many things that we feel like we have to do or things we have to save. So I think it's helpful just knowing that we can keep doing these check-ins and get your advice on what's going to be the best next step for us.
Yes. And I'm glad. I like being able to, you know, keep in touch with people and make sure that they're on the right track, because the goal is attainable. Just know that the goal is attainable. It's just the discipline and life happens. So sometimes you have some setbacks, but you stay diligent, you ask for help, especially since we talked about our generation. Sometimes we just don't want to ask for help. We want to do it on our own.
Exactly.
But you know, being willing to ask for that help and being willing to take direction is the best way to be able to accomplish the goal. And I know you guys are going to be able to. We have Connie here that's willing to help too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And speaking of that, Tatayna and her dad are the ones that are responsible for us being in the house in Lone Pine, because they went in, sat down. So I know it works. And that's why I went to someone that we can trust, because we're proof, you know, that it does work. We weren't in the position that we wanted to be in at the time we started looking. So as Tatayna said, we had to take some steps. You know, we had to make some moves. We had to, you know, pivot and change some things around so that when the time actually came, we were prepared, you know, and they were there and have been there for now, about 15 years. 2009, you know, is when we started on our journey. So I just wanted to add that also.
Yes.
Your realtor would be your friend for life.
Exactly. And it's so fulfilling to be here today, because I remember, Connie, I remember helping you, and then going fast forward to even consultations regarding refinancing, and then now being able to help your son and being able to guide them as well. This is why we do what we do. This is the part of the job that we really enjoy doing. So I'm really glad that we're able to have this conversation and hopefully help anyone else that's listening with making home ownership an actual achievable goal.
So Ray and Alexis, if you had to share some of your experiences with Tatayna, or just in general, if someone your age was listening to this audience, what would be some of the suggestions that you would give them just based on your own experience, you know, say over the last 6 months in trying to move towards your goal?
I think I would say that even when you've had that initial meeting and you're getting prepared to see if you're, you know, can be pre-approved, I think when you get that, you might get here are some things that we need to work on in order to get you to the goal. I think it can be daunting at first, and it can be like, oh man, well, it's just not going to work out. And it can be really easy to just kind of be like, well, we'll put it off for, some more time, or we'll get to that checklist eventually. I think life happens, and sometimes it's easy to put that on the back burner, even though it's the goal. So I think people our age, the best thing I can say is like, even if you're just chipping away at it little by little, just as long as you're moving forward, and you're asking for the help when you need it. I think that's been the biggest thing for us. Kind of being like, okay, one step at the list at a time. I'm someone who wants to kind of accomplish everything at once, but knowing that we just brick by brick, and that will get us to our goal.
Yes, and I would say find you a guy just like Tatayna, someone that is educated in real estate, someone you trust, and just stick with that and ask questions. I think that's the best advice. Because if you don't know, you don't even know what questions to ask or even how to go about it.
Definitely.
And I guess to add to that, sometimes people are a little intimidated to make that first call.
Yeah.
It is okay to follow our social media pages. It is okay to take advantage of free resources. We have a free credit ebook, Credit Fundamentals. It's only about 40 pages long. It's a short read, but really for, I want to buy a house, but my credit is bad. My credit is bad. And you don't know what bad is until you actually take a look at what's on your credit. So we have a short little read that people can take advantage of and educate themselves before they even talk to me. And I think that helps people feel a little bit more secure with their own finances before they let someone like me take a look at their finances and tell them everything that's wrong or right, or tell them what, gone.
So Tatayna, if people wanted to get in contact with you, can you please tell them your email or your website where they can reach you?
There's several ways that you can reach me, whatever fits best for you. My phone number is 866-812-8192. That is a toll-free number, so you will reach either myself or a member of my team. You can reach us by email at info@thesappteam.com. You can visit our website, thesappteam.com, or you can follow us on almost every social media site at the Sapp Team.
Well, Ray and Alexis, we want to say thank you. We will check in again in about another 6 to 9 months. I know that you guys will be following up with Tatayna, and she'll be giving you some assignments and some suggestions. So we want to say thank you very much for allowing us to take a glimpse and be there as you embark upon this journey. I must say that they're my two favorite people in the whole wide world, okay? And we really, really appreciate and look forward to getting the keys to your home. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
On behalf of the Black America Resource Directory, our goal is to bring information to our audience that's going to help uplift and curate your experience in the Black community. So for that, we say thank you. We're signing off, and we invite everyone to check us on YouTube and the Facebook channels for this wonderful and exciting presentation. Thank you very much.